Matthew Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate so many amazing people across this great state of Mississippi who are working so hard in the trenches to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, I want to bring your attention to something. I had a terrific conversation last week with Fofo Gillich, and we really kind of broke it all down. I raised recently the question in a column about coastal Mississippi and diversifying ourselves. What would it look like if we were, instead of a $1.6 billion gaming market, what if we were a $2 billion market? Of course, when you're having conversations with the mayor of Biloxi, he's very quick to point out that Biloxi alone is a $1 billion market. Think about that for a second. But it was a really interesting conversation about a lot of forces. And this is sort of normal in a competitive environment where some people are focused on doing everything they can do to limit the amount of competition. And some are very pro-competition. I mean, it's just normal. It's in a market where you've got big players like in the gaming industry, coastal Mississippi, is very somewhat normal. But, you know, one of the things that the mayor pointed out is the 6+ cases that they've had to deal with in court surrounding, the expansion of gaming in Biloxi. And he points out they won all their cases so far. But it was a very interesting conversation, whether you're for or against gaming, for or against what Biloxi's doing, or whether you think we should stay a $1.6 billion market or not. It's a very interesting conversation about all the assumptions and possibilities going forward. Really, really interesting conversation. I really want to encourage you you can go to your favorite podcast and look up the Ricky Matthews Show, or go to YouTube or Facebook and look us up. I think you'll be glad you did. Of course, in the second half of the show today, we've got Singing River Health Talk, powered by Singing River Health System. This health system, as you have heard me say repeatedly, is the real deal. They're not just a health system. They're a community heavyweight. They're giving back to the community in so many different ways, with their hands on the pulse of coastal Mississippi. And each Wednesday, second half of the show, each Wednesday is is a weekly dose of excellent health advice backed by the best. So I look forward to sharing with you. In fact, we have the coordinator of the neuroscience program at Singing River going to be joining us today. And we're going to highlight stroke awareness, which is leading into May. Very important conversation. And she's been deeply involved in that for over 18 years. That would be a really good conversation. Okay, now let's shift gears and move over to someone I really enjoy visiting on this show with, my friend Hunter Dawkins from the Gazebo Gazette. And he's a jack of all trades. He's a contributor to SuperTalk Mississippi as well. And it's always great to check in with Hunter. Hunter, how you doing, my friend?
Ricky, I'm doing well. Hope everything's going with you and your family. I heard my dad told me last week, he said he'd seen you, and hopefully for good causes.
Yeah. Well, as you know, your dad is my friend. He's also one of my doctors, and I see him annually. It's always good to have a good annual inspection with your father. And I passed with flying colors, so all is well there. But I've enjoyed my friendship with your father as well. He's really done a good job at taking care of me, and I appreciate you pointing that out. Listen, man, we live in a dynamic world for sure. But man, as I've said so many times before, I would like to remind people of this. You're a publisher of a small newspaper. You have to be a man willing to hit on a bunch of different cylinders to do your work. How's business overall? How are you doing?
Well, it's very active right now, Ricky, not only with, the pickup of the end of school years with the advertisements and things as such, but there's a lot of stories out there, as you know, right now. The upcoming general election, quite a bit of crimes the last few days, and there's been some hit or miss things, especially with sports too. Local sports are very good right now, and we're getting into the obviously after the NFL draft, the NBA playoffs. Baseball is starting to pick up, college baseball, which is big in our area. It's an exciting time.
Listen, I don't know how you keep up because you cover high school and Southern Miss and the Saints and the Pelicans and local community and on and on and on. I don't know how you do it. But reflecting on the Saints draft, it's so interesting seeing what people have to say. The Saints, I don't think they can do anything right with some fans. Some people just going to not like anything they do. But on this quarterback they picked up, I've been watching a lot of tape recently about people who evaluated him. I feel pretty good about him, but I'd be interested to hear what you think about this draft.
Well, I'm not exactly certain about as far from the quarterback standpoint, but I've also talked with a bunch of Saints fans as well, and it's never negative to draft in your first pick an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. Now, obviously, the Saints need a little bit more from my perspective of a defensive line set, maybe an edge rusher, but they got that later on down the line. But we'll see. We'll see where it leads out to, or maybe they have a free agent in ideas. I'm sure Jeff Duncan would let you know that too. But as far as drafting, you can't go wrong with drafting a solid offensive lineman for a playoff team this year too in college football. And the quarterback, what everybody has to realize, especially with this coach, is he going to mesh with the coach? It doesn't necessarily matter what he did in college, whatever he did, at least from different playing against certain teams, this, that, and the other. This guy is a quarterback coach, Kellen Moore. Whatever he has with this quarterback, that's what's going to make or break this draft pick.
Yeah, it's interesting. Listen, here's a guy who's 6'5", I think 225, something like that. We've had a history of having shorter quarterbacks that can't see over the offensive line, but a tall guy. On top of that, had 7 years, and people look at that 7 years in college and they see injury prone. But when you study the injuries that he had, they weren't like ACLs and things like this. It was like a broken collarbone and broken fibula, broken bones. I mean, just kind of freak injuries, but not the kind that are career ending or threaten someone's career. What the experts say about him is that he's got a laser for an arm, that is extremely accurate, and needs a little work in the red zone, they say. But on top of that, though, man, they say that he is an incredible person and leader, and that will be interesting to watch. And you're right about Kellen Moore. He's going to build his offense, and so it's not surprised that he picked up an offensive lineman in the first round. That's going to solidify our offensive line. We've got some good players on our offensive line now. We're bringing in this new guy, and he's building it sort of like what he saw in Philadelphia, sort of what he saw in what's the Los Angeles? Is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Sure.
So he's got
the Los Angeles coach of the Chargers. He was the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. That's correct.
Yeah. And he had a quarterback there that knows the quarterback that he's picking up. He actually backed him up at one time in his career. So it's an interesting pick, man. I mean, as Jeff said on my show, there were a couple of teams that didn't need a quarterback, but this guy was rated their number one quarterback on their board. So
sure. It's all about
evaluation.
It's all about evaluation, coach. If the coach feels comfortable, it doesn't necessarily matter what anybody else thinks. If the coach is comfortable, and obviously they've had conversations with this guy before in the past, and it's a little bit of hit or miss. We'll see what he's got. And I'm sure you're aware, there's going to be a stack of quarterbacks, at least during the mini camp and this, that, and the other, where they're going to put out there and they're going to see what they've got offensively. This guy that was drafted as a tackle from the Banks from Texas, they might move him to guard because he's got that guard level body. There's, let's just say this, I'm with you on this. I'm trying to remain optimistic about from the Saints, bringing in this new coach and bringing in this new level of system. He's been successful in the past. Let's just see what happens.
What do you make of the Derek Carr stuff? It's still a mystery. I mean, he spoke about his injury recently, I think in Las Vegas, at a church. to the congregation of a church. He spoke somewhat about his injury and that it's real, and he's very disillusioned by the negativity around his injury, et cetera. But what do you make of all this?
Well, first off, when we picked him up, when the Saints picked him up, they put him in. It was not necessarily an ordinary situation when he got picked in with the Dennis Allen era. It was a kind of an off basis scenario. We had, the Saints organization had some injury problems in the past. And, as far as from that goes, it kind of came into a rough situation right from the start. He got hurt in, I think the fourth game of the year, his very first year. Then that's a little bit what the problem is from there.
Yeah, not good stuff. We're visiting with Hunter Dawkins from the Gazebo Gazette, our coastal Mississippi jack of all trades in the media industry, and I do mean it. He impresses me. He's like the atomic man. When we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Hunter. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting with Hunter Dawkins. He's the president, CEO, publisher, and jack of all trades at the Gazebo Gazette. He's also a contributor to SuperTalk Mississippi. Listen, Hunter, you look across the municipal elections. It's really unfortunate, sadly, that voter turnout for something as important as municipal elections is as low as it is. But we're going to have some new mayors in coastal Mississippi, and some of the races that you watch very closely. What do you have to make of what we just went through with the especially the mayor side of the municipal elections?
Well, Ricky, it's good that you asked the question. I mean, especially in my neck of the woods, it's more about local, trying to maintain local scenarios. And there are, of course, there have been from all sides people that are interested in getting involved and bringing back funds from DC, from Jackson, and things as such. But from what we have learned in these municipal elections, that locals don't necessarily want that. It's not saying they're against it, but they want to maintain what they have. They're in town, they're mom and pop bedroom style communities. That's something that I think that this election showed, and also being aware of what financially was going on, not necessarily in Long Beach or Gulfport, but in Pass Christian. It was more of a skepticism by the community on where money was going and what it was funding, and how there was not necessarily availability for emergency repairs for things that needed to be done, but yet there were things given to certain situations that were not necessarily effective for the community. It was more of not necessarily a fighting for tourism. It was more of we want to take care of our community first.
Yeah, I saw this kind of clearly. I mean, Ocean Springs, I saw this. In Pass Christian, I saw this. I'm not surprised by it. The way I've described it as it relates to Ocean Springs, and incidentally, I've said this many times, when we did readership studies at the Sun Herald, every single readership study, Ocean Springs readership of the newspaper was the strongest penetration in the entire market, and Pass Christian was number 2. So they were right there neck and neck, but Ocean Springs tended to be a tick or two higher than Pass Christian. But look, go ahead.
Just to let you know, both of those communities, Ocean Springs and Pass Christian, are 2 of the top rated education school districts in the state of Mississippi. So that's
no doubt.
Not necessarily trying to put a coincidence, but that kind of rolls in the tongue the right way.
I think that actually is very much a part of it. And what happens when you have a literate community, highly engaged, that is consuming news and paying attention to local government and participating in local government and caring about a vision that they see for their city, that they're going to be involved in the process. Democracy is alive and well. I would say this is true for all coastal cities, but particularly as it relates to Pass Christian and Ocean Springs, I'll say this, that what you have is communities that were once very much bedroom communities. People loved to live there, very quiet. They had their little downtowns, but they weren't thriving, so to speak. And what's happened over the years, and especially since Hurricane Katrina, but what's happened is that there's a bit of a tug of war going on in these cities now between economic development and fast expansion of, the tax base through business development, et cetera, and maintaining this quiet bedroom community that they love. And so finding for a mayor to find, or a mayor candidate to find the sweet spot between those two is to me the science of whether you get elected or reelected or not. And so if you play too hard to one side or the other, a big block of voters are going to be turned off. So what they're looking for, and I don't know that I can define it specifically for each community, it's going to be a little bit different, but what they're looking for is someone who can define, we're going to protect what makes this place special, and we're going to be very smart about how we develop going forward, because everybody sees that growth is important, but the right kind of growth and agreeing on what that is a lot of debate and discussion. And that's why democracy is always alive and well in the local scene. But I think that's what played out in places like Ocean Springs and especially in Pass Christian, don't you think?
I would certainly agree with that. One of the people on I won't mention names, but one of the people that was on the planning commission in Pass Christian, I talked to this person after the election, and I said, so what, under your philosophy, what do you think becoming a mayor of Pass Christian you need to do? And this person said nothing. They just need to pave roads, to put things together, to listen to the communities, to drainage, little mom and pop type scenarios, and that will get you elected to mayor of Pass Christian, or, in some cases back in the day, mayor of Long Beach too as well.
Yeah, in Long Beach, we're getting a new mayor, Tim Pierce. And the irony of that is that Tim and I, when I returned back to school to get my business degree, Tim and I actually were in school at the same time. When I graduated from Southern Miss, he did as well. We actually went up together to graduate together. And then I went on to the MBA program, and I don't remember. I think he went on to an advanced degree, but he ultimately ended up working for NASA and having this great career at Stennis Space Center. And I remember him being super active in education in Long Beach and so on. So I think he's going to be a good mayor.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Tim and I are obviously good friends as well, and he was the school board president for about 10 years. He was actually on the school board for 20 years, and he really helped build, not necessarily that he was responsible, but he was one of the guys that really put in for that new CTE center in Long Beach, right off Pineville Road, and it's a fantastic facility, and that's something that's great for everybody in South Mississippi, because that helps build jobs. That gives kids an outlet instead of, the brain drain that they're trying to get rid of, at least in the state.
Yeah, I'm excited about. In fact, that just reminds me, since he is the mayor, he won't have opposition coming up. We can go ahead and have him on the show, because we don't do politics on the show. If you start getting into the local elections politically, we wouldn't have time to do any other shows, because you can only imagine how many candidates that would involve. It'd be impossible. Sure. Even when we had a full editorial board and a big staff, it was still tough at the Sun Herald to sit and meet with candidates. That's a hard one to do in coastal Mississippi, especially when you have in the 6 coast counties 22 separate political subdivisions. I mean, it's complicated, man. Well, this is a complicated place.
Like you said, Ricky, I mean, each city, each community has different little intakes in their own community, which talks about, different issues and different things as such. And so I have to agree with you from a standpoint that's phenomenally different. I mean, from Long Beach to Pass Christian to Gulfport to Biloxi, each scenario, and D'Iberville, which I've started being able to have the opportunity to cover. All of them have different scenarios and different issues that they're taking care of. So,
hey, listen, I had the opportunity for the second time to moderate the mayor forum in Ocean Springs. I enjoyed it. I enjoy being able to talk to people and seeing what's on their minds. Is terrific. You do the same thing, and you actually have sponsored them and helped put them on. But it's a great way to see what's on people's minds, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just like we spoke about education in these communities, in Pass Christian and in Long Beach, I had kids on the debate panels where kids were asking questions and I saw a lot of candidates. They were not exactly too sure because the kids came up with a lot of the questions. They asked the questions, and it's one thing to talk to, someone like me or another panel member who they know personally and they can kind of throw around. When you're talking directly to a child and you're looking in the face and they're asking you a tough question, what way is going to come across that way? It's a lot of different approach, at least for the answers. So
yeah, it is. I love seeing a passionate community, and as you and I have talked about many times, one of the things I used to always say before Hurricane Katrina, as a publisher, when I gave speeches, I would say that newspapers are critical to the process, helping keep democracy viable. I really meant that. I mean, I mean it as much today as I meant back then. I think news media in general plays that role. SuperTalk plays that role. After Hurricane Katrina, though, I really got a deeper lesson in why that's important as people were trying to undig themselves from the debris and make their rebuilding decisions and understand how building codes and the higher base flood elevations and all these things were going to impact them to make their decisions about where their kids are going to go to school and where they're going to live temporarily, and these myriad of thousands of issues. Where am I going to get my food and water from? These things were so critical, and by providing people the basic information that they need so they can decide for themselves what is best for them. That's what democracy is all about. I'm so excited to be a part of it still. Hey, listen, Hunter, it's been great to spend some time with you, my friend.
Hey, Ricky, it's always good. I really appreciate you reaching out to me, and we'll try to catch up with anything that's going on in the community. As you know, I'll be here, and I know you'll be there too. So
we'll have you back really, really soon. Hey, when we come back, Singing River Health Talk with Heather Suddeth. We'll see you after this.